So now I want to talk about how we can plan our habits ahead of time and increase the odds that we'll actually follow through with them. So how can we make ourselves more consistent? Are there some simple steps we can take to lead to consistency over the long run? In order to share this strategy with you, I'd like to tell you about a research study that was done. So researchers brought 3 different groups in. They had the first group who was told, we just want you to exercise over the next 2 weeks and then record how often you're going to exercise, right? So just keep track of your exercise habits. That was the control group. The second group, they also said, keep track of your exercise habits, but we're also going to show you this presentation on why exercise is important, why exercise is interesting and useful, why it leads to better health. And so this was the motivated group, right? This was the group that was going to track their exercise, but they had some additional motivation for doing so because they knew about the benefits. And then there was a third group. And this third group came in and they said, we also want you to track how often you exercise over the next 2 weeks. And we're also going to show you this video on, habits and exercise habits and why it's motivating and, and interesting and useful. So they were equally motivated as the second group. But then they asked them to do one more thing. And that third thing was to fill out one sentence. And the sentence said, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on this day, at this time, in this place. And this simple little strategy is called an implementation intention because it states when and where you plan to implement the behavior. There are hundreds of studies on implementation intentions, and they all show the same thing, which is that they work to a surprising degree. That this idea of just planning out when and where you're going to implement a new habit can actually have an important impact on whether or not you succeed. So the first group, 2 weeks after the research study was done, they looked back and about 30%, 31% exactly, ended up working out over the next 2 weeks. So about 1 in 3 people stuck to the exercise habit. The second group, remember this is the motivated group who was gonna, actually had good reasons for sticking to the behavior. Same exact thing. 1 in 3 people stuck to their exercise habit over the long run. So basically as soon as they walked out of the research lab, the motivation dropped and it didn't have any impact on long-term behavior. The third group, however, the group who wrote down exactly when and where they were going to implement their exercise habit, 90% of them worked out over the next 2 weeks. So you almost double or triple the odds that you're going to follow through with your habit just based on having an implementation intention set. And the idea behind this here is that you are pre-committing to when something is going to happen. So often we don't follow through with habits because we're wondering, will I feel motivated to go to the gym today? Or I have a friend who talks about writers who says, so many people never get around to writing because they're wondering when they're going to be motivated to write. And the idea is that you don't need to sit around and wonder when you can be motivated. Just schedule the behavior ahead of time, right? Set a schedule for yourself and take decision-making off the table for when the habit actually starts to become a reality. And that way, if you know that you're going to go to the gym at 5 p.m. on Monday, it doesn't become a choice on whether or not to do it. You're just following the pattern that you've already set out for yourself. So what I'd like you to do now is click on the worksheet below this video and fill out an implementation intention for your habit. When, where, and how are you going to implement this habit? Where is it going to live in your life? Carve out a time and a space in your schedule to focus on it and actually state explicitly when you're going to implement it and do it. Do that now. I'll see you in the next lesson.